Have you ever noticed that movies, books, and music are carefully preserved, while video games are often treated like a disposable Happy Meal toy? It's been boggling my mind lately because whenever I go to stores like Walmart, I still see Family Guy, The Big Bang Theory, or even old Shrek movies on the shelves. I never see PS2 or Wii or even 3DS games anymore, and man, that is a tragedy. In this situation, I usually go to retro game stores where half of them either smell like dirty laundry or old wet hardwood floors.
Copy that.
But besides all that, I consider those owners to be the unsung heroes of the industry because they keep games in great condition and have decent trade deals. Sure, some mark up prices, but honestly, they're just trying to keep the lights on. When we're talking about how game preservation's dying, YouTubers say it's generally caused by ownership and companies not caring enough about media. And while that's true, I still think that people themselves are partly to blame as well. I would argue that a large majority of them don't care about the quality of physical copies because of the overabundance of digital ones. I remember when I was a kid, I used to treasure my Spyro and Crash Bandicoot CDs because there wasn't anything else to play in my house for months. The moment I saw a scratch on them, I was heartbroken and thought they wouldn't work anymore. This wasn't just me, it was most of the teens in my neighborhood. There was a certain care for video games that you just don't see anymore, you know what I mean? These humble beginnings for gamers are non-existent nowadays, and this extends to low-income families. Anyone now can just grab a $30 Android tablet and download hundreds of apps on it. When people don't see gaming as an art form, I can guarantee you they won't have a single grain of standards. For old consoles though, it's relatively worse because cartridges are degrading and they're starting to get expensive to maintain. According to the Video Game History Foundation, 87% of games are missing and are probably gonna go extinct if nothing gets done. This is where I think converting them to digital media can really become handy. And while that sounds good, there's a giant monopoly in the background that's currently going out of control, i.e. digital ownership. When digital ownership became a thing many years ago, I was for it. I said to myself, what could possibly go wrong? But now, the way corporations are handling things makes it feel like nothing actually belongs to us. We may have digital licenses, but we can never really know when the publishers and corporations are gonna go out of business and shut down their online stores. They'll purposely hold the rights to games in hopes that some millionaire buys them at a good price or invests in them when they become trendy. It's purely for profiteering, and they're not willing to re-release them on new consoles. I would love to play Crazy Taxi or Eternal Sonata or even Tony Hawk's Underground on modern consoles. But with how everything is right now, I don't think that'll be possible. This reminds me of how media companies own shows and movies. Like if you want to watch Game of Thrones, it's on HBO, and if you want to watch The Boys, it's on Prime. I'm sure you know that these are all subscription-based content, and gaming is moving towards that, but with much worse conditions. Like Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus has that monthly subscription fee, but on top of that, we're expected to pay for each game on the platform. Now, that's not the part that really gets me. It's how when we cancel the service, we don't get any form of ownership for the titles we paid for. And to me, that's scammy. That's like if Steam had a platform fee and said you can only rent out product keys. There would be a giant backlash from the community, and I would be right there with them holding my pitchfork. When it comes to older games, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that corporations should just unite and create a subscription model similar to Netflix where anything in the platform's free to play. And I get it, it'll be a little bit more expensive because of copyrights and have the same old problem of them controlling the roster, but at least there's a chance games will be preserved. I don't know where or when I read this, but someone in the past mentioned that this could have been avoided years ago if they made consoles backwards compatible. It's very interesting because that comment couldn't have been more true. Sony's PS2 was backwards compatible with PS1 games, and they even made the first few models of the PS3 that way as well. Just imagine for a second that the PS5 was backwards compatible with all the previous generations. I don't know about you, but I would restock my shelves with all the games I used to play. This may incentivize preservation, but we all know by now that companies are limiting console functionality for profit. Man, when they do this, they throw away the things that a lot of people loved and leave them hunting for old products. And this leads me to my next point. When games are harder to get or cost too much, much, piracy becomes prevalent, and it makes sense. Corporations are forcing people to emulate games because, well, they refuse to maintain the ones we want preserved. Whether we like it or not, ROM sites are doing the archiving job for them, but they're always being shut down, and yeah, I get why, but you can't blame them for getting us games that are non-existent in modern consoles. We just don't see titles like Sonic Advanced or Legacy of Goku anymore. And the funny thing is, when companies do port them, did you ever notice how they'll barely put any effort on optimization? Like when Arkham Knight was ported on the Switch, it was barely playable with FPS problems, graphical glitches, and even crashes. This kind of thing happens in almost every modern console, but why play them like this when there's an emulator out there that runs them perfectly? It gets much worse with online games with their servers shutting down, and while it's understandable from a financial sense, the game doesn't get any form of offline options or user profile preservation. Imagine playing for years, buying loot boxes, trading items with other users, and after all that, everything's just gone. Why would anyone want to play these things knowing that'll happen? One of the problems I find these days is the motivation to keep games when companies are destroying their legacy. They do this when remaking and modernizing older titles. Have you ever played an older RPG and just loved the story so much that when its remake came out, it just ruined the whole experience? I mean, they updated the story, the battle systems, and overall mechanics. What could go wrong? Somehow it's just not resonating and you're trying to separate the old and the new, but you feel like the company poured gasoline and lit up the whole franchise. When all that happens, it's no surprise that core fans get annoyed, because when a poorly written side quest or story becomes canon, it dilutes the overall game experience, and this can give enough people reasons to resent the companies. A good example of this is the Final Fantasy VII and the modern remakes. Fans have been waiting for decades for a remake, and right when it came out, it got a mixed reception. The game was good, but most people wouldn't see it as a solid representation of the old title, and the developers didn't do a good job in preserving the original direction that the game once had. FF7's story, graphics, and mechanics were part of its identity, and the remakes replace these elements with modern equivalents that lose the feeling and charm of the original. The closest thing comparable to this is the old Star Wars trilogy versus the new ones. The difference is like night and day. At this point, I keep the original CDs for nostalgia, and I kind of feel bad that it's on the shelf gathering dust. It kind of sucks that I don't play games as much as I used to, but I've been watching the industry grow for over 20 years now, and I have to say that the market has too many useless games. I feel like this oversaturation ruins our ability to cherish and keep a product. There's always another thing we can do, and it's really up to us to limit and control our consumption. If you knew me, you'd say I'm horrible at that. I mean, whenever I go through my Steam library or even see what's for sale, I kinda get overwhelmed with all the options, and by the time I choose what to play, I get tired and just move on to the next thing. Now, this personal flaw is by no means any company's fault, but it does present an interesting point. Is less better? Does game preservation even matter anymore? Or is it already too late? I'd love to hear what you think, and make sure to comment below. Anyways guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. See ya.